Welcome back, everybody, to Team Spirit. This is your host, Lauren,
Carrie, and Emily.
And today we have a very special guest. We are talking to Stephanie. She is a tarot professional, and she's going to tell us all the things that Carrie and Emily have taken her classes, so they know, but I don't. So I'm ready to hear what I've missed out so I can sign up also, and just all the good juicy tarot stuff. So welcome, Stephanie.
Welcome.
Thank you. I honestly, just hearing that intro, because like I've listened to the podcast and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. This is so cool. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It sounded just as great as it always does. So I'm excited.
Let's
talk tarot.
We're a podcast for the people because we're not professional. We're just here chatting, and I don't know. I like those types of things. So we hope it feels just like a conversation. That's the best part of it.
That's really what it is. And we'll all learn something from Stephanie, all three of us.
Yeah.
So there's so much to learn.
And everybody listening.
All four of us. I'm going to learn something from every day. So
we'll talk to Steph about, what's your history with tarot? I guess let's start there.
So we're going to need a time machine, like a whole, movies flashback here, because it's a long time ago. Basically, in a way, I was born into it. My mother, her mother, 5 generations back of tarot readers, psychics, all that fun. So tarot specifically, that form of divination has always been around. And for me, it's like a second language. And so just like if you grew up in a bilingual home, you pick up on that second language. And sometimes your proficiency might not be up to par with this is steadfastness because you're kind of home taught that second language. So I try to keep an open mind when people are like, well, I was taught this in tarot. I'm like, that's awesome. There's a million ways to do it. There's not one solid way.
Thank you.
To do it. I do encourage people to know that it's a structure of cartomancy, and the cartomancy is the form of divination. In that we have 4 different types of cartomancy. So there's tarot, which we'll be talking about today, and that it's set structure. And then there's like the Kipper and Lenormand, and then we have the playing cards, which I tell you, I need to get more proficient at reading those, because my mom would lay out all 52 cards and be like, boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
And I was like,
that.
That's yummy.
That's my big goals, right? I'm a toddler when it comes to that stuff. So I kind of also have that appreciation for people that are learning tarot, because I get it, I learn it. The most fun is Oracle. I think it's the most fun because there's no structure, and I encourage everybody to read it because there's no rules, there's no structures. Do it. You see the card, whatever you feel, dive into it and let yourself be free in that moment.
Yeah.
And hopefully, when you learn the structures of the other kind, you can take that same intuition that you bring to Oracle, apply it to the structure, and then fly.
Implement it. Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So how old were you when you first got introduced? Like when you first started actually playing with the cards yourself?
So I got my first deck when I was 13. It was just something. Yeah. Well, I was in Sedona. We lived in Sedona for a little bit. And so very much, vortex and very spirituality in Sedona. And it was one of our neighbors was having a yard sale, and there was this perfect little Egyptian tarot deck. And I was like, that called to me. Yeah. It just called to me. So that was my go-to. Like, I didn't even think about having a multitude of decks. It was like, this is my tarot deck. And we were fast friends, and it was, the thing all the friends wanted readings. And so I got a lot of practice in real fast.
Oh my gosh. And then how would you say from that point into now, because I'm sure there was a lot of evolving and changing and shifting in the way that you read from then to now.
So there's just not even one journey, because there's times that you put it away and it's like, okay, you know what? Life be lifing, and I got to hold myself together and pause from this, go with that. And then sometimes you're like, this is just calling to me. So you go to it. And each time you take a pause and go back, there's a different evolution that comes with it. Each one of those pauses, you kind of learned a little bit more. You grew a little bit more. And so when you come back to it, you're not doing it the same. even some life lessons, especially when we're looking at forms of divination. Life lessons happen, and each life lesson helps the reader. That experience helps the reader connect and be able to read more clearly. So as far as evolution, don't judge yourself on anybody else's path, because again, something we all have to take moments. We do. And I can't say that, hey, since 1993 I've been reading tarot nonstop every day. Like, I have 4 kids. And you know what? I grew up with the mom that read tarot cards in a very religious community, and I didn't want to be that mom. So it was like, I raised my kids because I wanted to protect them from bullying. And guess what? You can't protect them from bullying. So do your thing. Do your thing.
Kids will find anything.
Yeah, but so it went from me just kind of looking at the cards and studying the keywords and stuff like that and trying to memorize it. Memorizing doesn't always work, because every time I tried to memorize it, it felt unnatural. Remember, because and not even that I have background in this and that it was something I was familiar with a little bit of the language. It was still me trying to be like, this is the structure. This is like, so I need to memorize and memorize and memorize. And sometimes I guess that works for some people, but not for me. I've got too many learning disabilities, and it's like, I need something that's not set on the standard memorization. And that's how my class came to be.
So good.
That formed is just trying to help others speak tarot, because I kind of felt like there was a need of it. So that's kind of the evolution of what brought me here today. I think I covered it all.
I
mean, go ahead,
I love that you said about taking time off, because I feel like there's so much like guilt and shame when we take away time from our crafts. Like, I was just thinking about like I've missed so many like witch holidays, and I'm like, I'm being a real bad witch right now. But like, that's I have to do. That's just the honest truth, and that falls to the side, and that's fine. And I love thinking about it as a new journey every time I pick it up. I am so happy you said that. Love that.
And it's always a part of you. It doesn't just because you take that pause doesn't mean I'm not, I guess I'm not a witch. No, it's a part of who you are. But we beating ourselves up.
Definitely. And sometimes we get so into doing the practice that we kind of lose out on the purpose of it. It becomes so ingrained in just our everyday. Like, if we made moon water every single time, and it's like we do the same ritual every single time, we lose some of that jazz that comes out within us, that then we're hoping to amplify, whatever we're working with, but we've kind of lost a little of that. So sometimes a good pause is well worth for the soul to be like, I am 100% feeling this. This is my drive at the moment. And I say, follow your flow. Like, never try to fight your own flow.
And this is a good segue, and something I had written down a little earlier to kind of talk about, because it's something that I'm currently going through in my own practice. And I feel blocked when it comes, like, I feel like I'm not as connected to my cards as I was when I really first started reading them and doing it more and more. And, I've been, of course, like trying to analyze it, trying to figure out what's the reason for this. And of course, that causes more constraint. And then it's just like a never ending cycle. But I wanted to ask you, have you had those moments where, okay, we're going through the evolution process with tarot, and then we just feel like we feel stuck or we feel stagnant in that art, and how to, reconnect with the cards? Does that indicate maybe we need to have a different approach when it comes to reading? Does it mean that, am I relying too much on the cards and not so much my intuition? Like, I'm just trying to see, what your experience is with not feeling as connected to the cards.
Right, because sometimes it happens. Sometimes we're just in a funk, and we got to assess, is it us that's in a funk? Is it energy that's in a funk? Is it, sometimes we've done too much energy work and we're not understanding like what this draw on ourselves is. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I think it's always a good idea to take a moment. I wouldn't say like, unless you're feeling, I just really need to pause this, then go with your flow, right? But if it's just kind of like, I want to recognize, reconnect, and re-recognize the connection I have with cards. Because once you have that passion still lies in there. It's just kind of like, what did we do? And so it's like, try a different style of divination. Maybe like open up your creative mind to being like, okay, and see how that connection is. See if this is an opportunity for you to kind of step up somewhere else, because there could be a calling somewhere that's just so quiet, so faint that you're not hearing it, but then it's kind of still pulling you away. And so try a couple things and then go back to it and be like, how am I connecting with it? If you think that it's in your energy, if you think it's just like, oh, you know, I've really been working myself. I've been doing 5 readings a day and like not taking time for myself. Do some energy work for yourself.
Yeah.
And try to reconnect. You just kind of, it's kind of funny because it brings me right into tarot stage 7. Stage 7. So
we
Ace
love
brings
it.
us the whole opportunity. Like all of the opportunities come with Ace. So if we're in the Ace of Wands, that is all of the fire signs, bringing all of the possibilities, all of the potentials. And then we step through 2, 3, 4, we go through 5, 6, 7, all the kind of things. So 7 is the saddest part because a lot of people give up at 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, you're so close to your goal because your goal is 9 and 10. Everything comes to fruition, right? And we get to 7 and it's this last little hiccup that we're just like, oh my gosh, I just can't get over this hurdle. This is the hurdle that's just too much. And it's a hard time. And sometimes we get a little disappointed with our progress at stage 7. We question a few things, and this is where we need to go who, what, when, where, how. I say on 2, 5, and 7, you have to ask yourself who, what, when, where, how. Like I said, we have all of the possibility with Ace. And so with 2, we've got to ask, what are we doing with it? Who's involved with this? How are we going about it? And then we go a couple steps. Then we go to 5. 5 gives us a little bit of conflict, right? And so we got to ask who, what, when, where, how. And then we're like, okay, we can get through it. We move past it and we go to 7. And this is kind of the last who, what, when, where, how that the universe throws up. And it's like, we're so close, but why is there this little hurdle? Well, we've got to dissolve it somehow by asking those questions. When sometimes it's like, I'm in the way of my own happiness here. Okay, well, once I understand that, maybe I can get out of the way and achieve 8, 9, 10.
Right.
So
such a good way to put it.
We have to do that with our own energy too, not just like the steps of tarot, but like if we're not feeling pulled to something, if we're feeling exhausted by something, if we're like, where am I? Those are good times to be like, okay, what are my who's, what, when, where, and how? How do I get through this?
Yeah.
It's a total reconstruction of thought of I've worked so hard and it's not working instead of I've worked so hard and here I am. And that's with so many different things. And if you look up anything that kind of has like a timeline, it's always like that right near the end, you get tripped up. And like they say with marathons, people quit at mile 21. You've only got 5. You ran 21 miles, but you go look at those 5 more. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But forget the 21 you just did. It's the same type of mentality. And I think asking those questions, like taking a second to like pause and think about it, opens so much to the possibilities.
Yeah.
That's a great way of interpreting it and being like, I love the marathon analogy. Words, I tell you, I stumble.
Oh, we all do.
If anybody knows me, they're gonna know that I do stumble. And part of the reason is I have a rare neurological disease. It kind of works like a brain tumor. And so sometimes just like somebody with a brain tumor has a little bit of a little hiccup here and there, I do as well. And it's cool. We just keep rolling on.
I don't even notice because of all the wisdom that just spews out of your mouth. I don't even know that it's happening. So don't even worry.
You're so sweet. Thank you. You're amazing. But, I was saying that marathon analogy, that's a great one. I usually talk about the 7 of Pentacles as like a garden. And it's like you grow your zucchini, or you plant your zucchini and you plant your carrots and you plant everything. But zucchini was the only thing that grew. And so would you say that you're going to throw your whole garden away? Or are you going to look at maybe the nutrients need to be changed? Maybe, this is just something that needs to be altered. And then we can grow all the vegetables. Then we have the 9 and 10 of Pentacles being like, our needs are met. We have so much that we can harvest and give to our neighbors. But to know that people give up at 7 breaks my heart. I'm always like, no, keep going. I know you can.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
full body chills. Like,
I know she's amazing. Told you.
Aw. I don't know if I
Uh,
can handle all the
I'll
love
handle
knowing,
it. Say thank you and smile.
right? Thank you and smile. I love that. No, you guys make it feel so amazing and so natural. So thank you.
You're
It's just
welcome.
yeah.
We're just
I'm like,
rolling
am
with
I
it.
talking too much? Because
No, oh
Oh
God,
no.
that's why you are here. You are the
Yeah.
star of this show. This
Yeah.
is all
geez,
about you. Because
Yeah.
I just think it is so cool. And I'd really love to hear about your classes and what kind of made you be like, this is what's missing, and here's how I'm gonna fill it. And then just tell us about your classes and where people can find you and what they'll learn and the different things that you have.
my classes started when I was watching my friend Angie, the Feisty Butterfly, read. And she was doing her classes, and I took her class because I wanted to see how other people do. And, this is what you do. You take other people's classes.
Yeah.
And she does a fantastic job. I love the way she teaches. But I noticed that if there was somebody who did not know anything about tarot, if they had never even picked up a tarot deck, and some of my students have never picked up a tarot deck before they come to class. And so taking somebody and being like, hey, we're gonna learn this, and then you teach them everything that should be known, all the memorization that should already be done. And I absolutely love her class. I think it's a very good class. It really helps bring tarot to another level. It's kind of, if you relate with how she reads, then you're going to relate with how she teaches. It's beautiful. However, if you don't know the fundamentals of like how the cards come together, you
You're gonna
might
be
feel a little
lost.
bit lost.
Yeah.
And I came to see that here and there. And I'm like, okay, I am neurodivergent, and I want to talk to those who have learning disabilities. I want to welcome them. And this is why my classes started one-on-one. So and we have opportunities where we can team up and read each other, or, anything like that goes. It's not like you can only practice in my sessions or whatever, but it's 6 one-on-one sessions where we go over the major arcana and then the minor arcana, and then we go through ace and 10, and then we go through more of the things that build ace through 10, and then we do the court cards, and then we do the polarities and elements. And so it's like each one of these classes is just you and I, and we can go through it as slow or fast. Anything that you need a little bit more focus on, I'm there for you. And this means that sometimes my students have been like, today was rough and I don't know if I can learn. And I'm like, let me just sit with you for today.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yep, you did that for
it's
me.
okay. Did I do that? I don't know all I've done it with, but it's like, okay.
You walked me through a meditation. You're like, this is what you need a meditation. And it was beautiful.
Sometimes people have needs that are, class of 6. I'm going to be starting to teach in person. And so it's like, in person, we're doing more group class. And I'm like, little bit sad because I lose out on that one-on-one that I feel kind of makes the class work with so many people, because there's that connection to be like, we can go whatever pace you need to go. Here with you, if that means that it's off time and you have a question, you're like, hey, I'm having troubles understanding the Wheel of Fortune card. Can we talk about it? We'll shoot some messages back and forth and see if we can talk about it that way. We'll talk about it in class. We'll go over it however you need to go through it. And I think that helps. Plus, I've got some stuff that comes with it. So like, this is a print up, but you guys didn't even see that. Like, after, this is just a new thing that I've added in my class. It's a practice. And that. So it's like just a little bit of notes, but like when we go to,
how pretty that is.
Yeah,
this
so
is pretty
visually
familiar.
pleasing.
This is pretty familiar to Emily and Carrie, because it goes, I send this in their Google Drive. And so it's like, there's the opportunity to keep it and study off of it, and everything that I can think that would be beneficial for somebody learning tarot, I have tried to compact it and put it in to the class.
Yeah. I love it. It was an amazing class. Yeah. It really was. And for me, who always has struggled, like, retaining information, I never had an issue. I mean, because of the way that tarot really is a story. And I feel like you capture that so beautifully. I never felt like I had to memorize, or of course there's some studying, but it felt different. It felt so much more in alignment, and it flowed so well. So I highly recommend her class.
It's so cool how it's like you took it out of the construct for yourself when you were learning, and then you put it into your class to make it so personal because everybody learns so different. And I think that's the scary thing when you first like think about it and you kind of look online or pick up like one of the books that goes with it. It feels very repetitive in a memorizing type way. And to take that out and let it be intuition with the practices that suit you is so cool that you provide that because it's so unique. I don't think I have heard it done that way before.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. I think it's important to understand that tarot is a river, and in this river, there's streams that run into it. Astrology, numerology, these things feed into it, the Kabbalah. We could go on and on about what feeds into that giant river of tarot, right? And the more you want to know tarot, the more you're going to study the streams that feed into it. Now, you might not relate to every stream that feeds into it, but I suggest the ones that you do relate to, study those. You know, if you find yourself loving astrology, study astrology and blend it in with your tarot, because your tarot is going to support that. Your tarot is going to love it. It's going to be like, yes, feed me that astrology. The same thing, you know, with all of the aspects that feed into it, it's going to be like, yes, let's do this. And you're going to find that flow a lot more than being like, well, this is what it is. Because really, it's about it. All divination should be more about connecting with the flow, in my opinion.
And, you know, one thing that I've really found, like I'm at this point where I am thinking about how I'm reading and, you know, what is the 7 I'm in. But, you know, for me, like lately, I like a really sound, structured question. I feel like I get so much more for the sitter when there's more of like a specific question. And I don't know if you would feel that way too, Steph, but like I find it very hard lately to do general readings because I feel like the energy's scattered. And like I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to figure out how to fine tune it so that I can help the sitter. Like, okay, so we're struggling with, let's say, your relationship, your partner. Okay, well, my job is to bring through insight and clarity and understanding. And it's hard to do that when what is it that you're looking for? What do you want out of this? And like that's what I'm coming up against is like, but I'm a people pleaser and I'm like afraid to say that on my live, you know, but it's like I feel like the more structured the question, the better the information comes through, the easier it comes through, the more specific, the more psychic it is.
And my suggestion for the sitter on this would be ask open-ended questions. That's the best way to get the biggest bang for the buck on the sitters. They think is by asking kind of a general question. Maybe you're nervous to ask your real question. Maybe you don't know how to word it correctly. You know, there's a whole bunch of what could be the reasons why we're asking just a general reading. But for the sitter in particular, if you have an open-ended question that you ask your psychic, you're going to find the answers a lot more reliable. It's just going to resonate better. So I suggest doing that. Now for the readers, if you know that this person is just like, I'm going to get a general, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a general, understand that one of the things could be that they don't know where to start with their question.
Yeah.
And so energetically, we have this ability to where maybe we can pause for a second and kind of feel and be like, are we feeling the pull to financial? Are we feeling a pull to spiritual? You know, check with ourselves and how this energy feels, because they might just need a little bit of help knowing how to get to their results. They're just like, I need help here. And so it's kind of like we do have to give them a little bit of direction sometimes. And so it's like, you know, if we're feeling it's financial and we're just kind of like, this general read is kind of blah for me because I don't know where to go. And so it's like, if we can tap in for a second and psychically and be like, this feels like it might be financial. Could you confirm that for me? You know, are you concerned with your financial situation? That could be a way to that from us to our sitters. It's okay to give. I'm always supporting getting clarification.
Yes, absolutely.
If we need clarification, pause and get that clarification. If we feel like it's spiritual, because there's a lot of people who want spiritual reads, and they're just like, tell me whatever I need to know, because spiritual world is big and vast. And it's like, what do I want to know? So it's kind of like, if we're feeling it spiritual, it's like, what questions can we ask them to prompt them to confirm that this is what this read is about? And it might take a moment to do that before we get into the actual read, but it's a good time for us, just as when we're learning tarot. And it's like, okay, I don't want the sitter to worry about waiting so long for me to kind of get in my zone and kind of that. Well, we're over that hump now. It doesn't take us so much time to get over the zone. And so it's like, okay, let's get this reading. Well, let's still pause a moment. Let's check in a moment, not for ourselves necessarily, but for our sitter, and be like, how can we still do this, especially with those general questions. And they can be, I don't want to call them a killjoy because I think that's a little bit mean, but it can be a little bit for the psychic that has,
daunting.
Yeah, when all of your reads for the day is just general reads, and you walk away from it as the psychic, you walk away with, I hope they got the information they were looking for. I hope, which then also plays, because we're human, psychics are humans too. Yeah. We play in this moment of, what did I not do?
Yeah.
Did I leave them feeling complete, especially people pleasers? Did I give them their bang for their buck? And so it's a relationship. Every read is a little bit of a relationship where we can be like, okay, let's get to the point together.
And I know like Emily would agree too, but I mean, I fell down a rabbit hole of like getting a lot of readings, and I'm guilty. Most general, a couple of years ago, and every general I was getting, they're like over it. They're like, it's the same message over and over. Like, what you need to do. What this message is. It's not going to change regardless of who reads you. Like, get it together.
And a lot of times you come in and you know what you want the reading to be on, but you want to hear it from the universe.
Absolutely.
So you say general, but I know it's like flipping a coin, and you know what side you want it to land on, like in the air. And it's just, it just sometimes feels comforting.
Yeah.
To just say,
well, and stuff doesn't, and the way I love, when you go on live and I'm able to go in there, I think it is so important. And I think you do this so beautifully in the way that you educate while you read. And I think a lot of, sitters, they just you don't know what you don't know either. You know what I mean? So like, not everybody goes to tarot class. Not everyone understands the structure. Not everyone understands like how the cards are intended to be used to serve you. Right. And I think you do a really good job explaining those things and getting to the root of it. So I love it.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear that feedback. Because I'm like, going live, I'm like, man, I some people don't want to know tarot. They're cool just getting a tarot reading and they don't want to know anything behind it. And I'm like, am I being
that could never be you.
Education?
No, I think it's beautiful, and I think it's needed, because they're taking away so much more than just whatever messages are coming through. They're taking away some education on it. And then if they go to the next read, they'll understand it better. I think that's really important.
Because it can feel so daunting. Like tarot as a whole can feel, when you're thinking about all the cards and the numbers and the signs and everything that goes into it, it can feel really scary. And I think if I'm watching and you're explaining at the same time, it adds this level of, I could do that. Like, I could understand this. I see it a whole different way. Again, like I don't think I've ever seen a reading. Usually everybody, explains the card, but to go into more detail about tarot with it is really cool.
It is.
Well, and for the people who want to learn tarot, reading it intuitively is fine. I'm not going to shame anybody for just picking up a tarot deck and just reading it 100% intuitively. Do you? But I encourage you to learn it, because the more you learn, the deeper you're able to dive in that reading. And you're really using the tool to its maximum capability. A hammer, we know what to do with a hammer. It's a simple tool, but knowing what hammer does what job, what job are we doing, and why are we going for a sledgehammer when we really just need that little one to just do those tiny nails? Why would we go for something that's going to
put a hole in your wall?
Do damage. So it's kind of like knowing how to use your tool plays a big advantage in giving those readings. Because it's like, if I pulled the 5 of Wands and I'm like, we're hitting a piñata. This is a party. We're celebrating. This is such fun. Oh God, yeah. That's pure conflict. That's like a pure, we're ego. That is a very Leo card. And so we're very much in our ego place of that with that card. And so when we have too much ego, it's not a piñata party. It's a straight up competition. Yeah. So somebody's getting hurt if we go into it thinking it's a piñata party. Let's blindfold and
take this job. Take this job. They do employee of the month parties every week.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
We have the Emperor, the Devil, and the Five of Wands, and it's like, man, you hit the lottery. It's just gonna work better if you know the structure of it, so you can kind of understand why is that card such a conflict. What is because each of the cards actually have a personality to them. We mentioned earlier that Ace is the power of all of the signs, right? So Ace of Wands, we've got Aries, we've got Leo, and we've got Sagittarius. Then we go into 2, 3, 4. That's Aries. That's the cardinal. So we're all 4 cardinals here. So 2, 3, 4 in tarot are all cardinals.
Yeah.
And then we have fixed, and then we have mutable. So 5, 6, 7 are going to be those fixed signs. Like I said, Leo, we're going to understand. Leo is going to be more of an egoic card. And 5 of Wands is Saturn in Leo. And so we are dealing with some power of structure. We're dealing with some issues there. And so to understand it will amplify said reading. And I love knowing the personality. I'm like, oh, we're dealing with
like a bond that way.
Yeah.
Like I feel connection with the cards when I feel like I'm understanding their personalities. Because sometimes they throw us that shade and I'm like, okay, loud and clear.
The 9 of Pentacles, she is the lady of luxury. We're talking Virgo energy. Like she is living that Virgo dream and she's showing it. So it's kind of interesting to know the personalities that are in the card and understanding the zodiac and the numerology in those two. So
it never, I mean, does it ever end? I don't think it does. I think it just, it's endless.
That's the beauty in it. That's the beauty in it. You're constantly learning and evolving with your cards and your craft. And it is so cool.
It is so cool.
And that actually brings us all the way full circle to where we were before. Like, take a pause, take a pause. And don't worry about like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pause and lose everything. If you want to pause for years and years and years, if it's in really what your best interest is, and I think we know bottom line, if we're really trying to get that fulfillment done, we're gonna recommit ourselves sooner or later. We're going to find our fulfillment in these things again. And so it's okay to pause and be like, okay, I dealt with this a little bit, and now I'm coming in to recharge, revitalize, and remind myself of the passion that was in this to begin with.
So true. Well, I have a wrap up question, and it's so elementary, but I
want to know if it's the same one I have.
Okay. What is your favorite card and why?
My gosh. So my favorite card, this is such a hard one because one, let me just tell you, I'm polyamorous. I don't have a favorite anything. I love everything.
What's your favorite flavor today?
Exactly. I have different reasons why I love and respect different cards. For instance, like the Hermit. I love the Hermit. And, often that might pair up with, I love the Hermit and the Moon, depending on what I'm going through. Because if it's a time where I'm like in like understanding that deep reflection, those two cards are like really deep reflection, right? So it's kind of like, this is what I'm feeling. Sometimes, I did a reading on myself earlier and the Hierophant card came out and I was like, cause I'm that mentor, I'm that bad teacher kind of thing. So that was definitely the card of the day when that popped. So it's such a hard question because it evolves. It evolves. Sometimes there's just this, I get this call that this card is the one that's for me for the month. And that's my favorite. And people will be like, what's your favorite card? And I'll be like, High Priestess all day, or Queen of Pentacles, or whatever it may be. But honestly, it depends on what I'm mucking through.
That is like the perfect answer from a beautiful reader. I mean, seriously, because there's so many cards that get a bad rap out there, and it's none of them are really meant to be negative. It's just neutral.
There's different decks that have the card that I love the most. There's a few cards in the Light Seers. If you know me, I got my Light Seers deck before I saw it was popular everywhere, or else I probably wouldn't love it so much. But there's some cards in there, like the Queen of Swords.
I love it. With the heart in the cage.
This little tiny cup in a cage. And you wouldn't know anything. You wouldn't really notice it until you know that the Queen of Swords is still a water element. All the queens are cups. And
Yeah.
so she's got it protected. And it reminds us, even though we are bad, we still all have that soft heart that needs to be protected at times. And
Yeah.
so it's a
Yeah.
friendly little reminder, or sometimes the Chariot card. And this is why I love having so many decks. That Chariot card is a big indication of like how fast or slow you're going. We know the Chariot is movement forward. Now, if that movement forward is like a Ferrari, I have some decks that it's a rhinoceros. And that tells me you're not going to stop for any of those hurdles that are in your way. You're bound to like break through barriers to get your job done. If I see a snail, we're moving, we're trucking along, but pretty damn slowly. So favorite card, and sometimes depending on what a deck it's coming from, there's so much availability and beauty in it all. It's hard to have a favorite. It's like the children. You love them all differently.
You love them all. It's so true. It was a great answer.
Yeah.
I love Light Seers though. I had no idea it was that popular when I got it either. And actually, with me feeling a kind of certain way lately, that is the deck I feel the most drawn to using right now, interestingly enough.
Isn't that amazing how it works? Well, and it's like when I did get on TikTok, the Deviant Moon was everywhere. And so I avoided getting the Deviant Moon until just recently. And I got it a couple months ago and I still only busted it out like a couple days ago. And I was like, man, these cards are and I'm like, because I did not go deep into it when everybody was in, I think I have my own view and appreciation of the cards. And so if there's a deck that you're just like, man, that's too popular, I'm not going to resonate with it, try it again at a later time. Maybe you never know, the connection could be different for different parts of your life too.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because then you can make your own distinction on it, because we absorb so much from social media and the way that we're like fed things. And so that's a really great point to, if you're seeing it saturated everywhere, to maybe think about what you're absorbing and is it authentic to you, or do you kind of need to separate yourself from that so you can learn on your own?
Maybe sometimes when you take a little pause and come back to it, you see something, it's like a perspective change. You see something in it that you would have missed before, or these things happen. That's why it's always good to just go with your flow. Whatever feels like your flow is being called to, you just got to float with it and discover what comes along your way.
I love that. Well, Steph, where can everybody find you for your classes and for your readings and all of those things?
So most of all on TikTok right now, I'm going live on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you check out my bio, there's a link. You can find all of the stuff there. You can email me, TarotbytheC. So if you Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I'm doing a little bit more on YouTube. I'm still like ADHD brain. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I get like, and then I'm like, I'm doing this over here now too. But you look for me, TarotbytheC, message me, tarotbytheC@gmail.com. And we have the classes set up. So there's a payment plan for them. But if that payment plan doesn't seem to be friendly, email me and we can work out something. I'm a big believer that your financial limitations should not be the barrier between you getting a good, solid understanding of tarot.
Yeah, awesome. And Tarot by the C, and that is the letter C, just to...
The letter C. Yeah, let's
see.
I know. Well, it's because my last name. And so I was like,
I love it.
Tarot by
No,
the
I love
C.
to play on words. No, we love the C.
We love the C.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you so much and for sharing your wisdom and your energy with us.
I feel like my brain was exploding like this whole time. Like the way you put things is just love it. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
You're welcome. Honestly, this is why I do classes that are an hour long and then we rest for a week. And I'm like, digest all this for a minute, because your brain does get to the point where it's like, I'm trying to take in everything, and you do go through that, your brain just on max. And so you take it and you digest it. And this is why it's like, if you have questions on anything we covered, reach out to me, because I'll be happy to go over it again. Okay. So you guys are amazing. I got to tell you, it's an absolute pleasure. You guys just are beautiful people, and I love being in this zone with you.
Thank you. We love having you here. Yeah, you rounded us. You rounded us.
We did. We stayed really on track. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Thanks for grounding us.
That never happens.
No, that's scary. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because I'm just like, man, Steph, you just talk so freaking much.
No,
I don't
no,
think you could have.
that's what we
I don't think
want.
you could have talked too much.
No.
I love listening to everything you've had to say.
Yeah.
Solid.
Well, you want to take us away, Lauren?
Way away. So first of all, I want to again say thank you to Stephanie for being here and talking to us and enlightening us. I mean, I just think it was so beautiful. So you can find all of us on TikTok and Instagram. Stephanie is at Tarot by the C, and that is the letter C. Carrie is at Clarity by Cam, CAM, and we are Team Spirit Pod. And I almost forgot. We also still have our bite tag code. It's 15% off with the code Team Spirit Pod. And we will see you next time. Bye.